Welcome to the Twist News. I'm Erika Grey. You have to wonder where the international community gets its foreign policy. And I'm talking about politicians within all of the major leading world powers and countries. You have to wonder. Now, I know for a fact from having been around politicians and various individuals who are in the decision-making process that, believe it or not, they get a lot of their information from the media. And if the media is pumping out false information, guess what? They're going to be getting false information. And they're not immune to being deceived along with the public. So I'm going to talk about two-state policy, because what I don't understand about the nations of the world adopting a Palestinian state alongside the state of Israel, what makes absolutely no sense is that it is more than clear that the Palestinian state would be a terrorist state. But there's also something else that is very clear. As you delve into this topic, and what's very clear is that there is a master plan of Iran and Qatar to basically overtake the Middle East region and dominate the gas industry. So you may say, Erika, that's crazy. Where do you get that from? And by the way, these are the same people that are pumping the protocols of the elders of Zion. And you want to talk about a conspiracy? Well, this is possibly it. So you say, why would I say that? Well, let's look at some of the facts. Qatar funds Al Jazeera. What's Al Jazeera? Terrorist news outlet. You might as well call it that. So let's look at the facts and how the world leaders are missing that, whether it's the Palestinian Authority, Hamas, they all have the same ideas. And the idea is they don't recognize that any of the land belongs to Israel. Their ideas have infiltrated the UN and influence UN policy, which is very anti-Semitic and against the Jewish state. Why? Because it's dominated by these actors. Because let me tell you what the master plan is. If the two-state solution can be enacted, and now you're going to have a Palestinian state, an actual Palestinian state, guess what? That state becomes an Iranian proxy. Why? No brainer. Iran is funding all of the different terrorist groups that keep attacking Israel, such as Hezbollah, Hamas, and the PLO. So now what you'll have is an Iranian proxy. And when you have an Iranian proxy, a state that's an Iranian proxy, guess what? It becomes easier to take over the entire state, the half now that they don't have. And then they would acquire the gas fields and many other Israeli products. So you say, well, how could you say this about Qatar? Well, because, and I'm looking at my notes here, the gas field shared by Qatar is the North Field, also known as the South Pars gas field. It is a massive offshore natural gas field located in the Persian Gulf, shared by Qatar and Iran. Okay, so we start to connect the dots here. The field is estimated to hold approximately 18, that's what happens when you need reading glasses, 1,800 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, making it one of the largest gas fields in the world. Qatar and Iran have jointly developed their respective sides of the field, with Qatar's North Field being the larger portion. Qatar's North Field is the foundation of the country's vast liquefied natural gas, LNG production and export industry, making Qatar one of the world's leading LNG producers. So, think of it this way. Qatar is already in bed with Iran. Qatar funds the groups that Iran is also backing. And you start to see the master plan, and it's evident. And the master plan is, if you can create the two-state, and they strategically have gotten into the college universities, and so you have all these protests, and they've gotten into the world affairs, politics, diplomats, news media, and you now have the politicians saying we need this two-state solution as the only solution. Yeah, solution, all right. I'm going to tell you what it's going to do. According to the master plan, it would then allow Iran its way for the rest of Israel to essentially take over the other half of Israel. And when it does, guess who's going to dominate the Middle East region? Iran and Qatar. I mean, this is a no-brainer. It's going to dominate the Middle East region. It's going to dominate the gas fields. Guess who becomes one of the leading head honchos in world affairs? Iran and Qatar. And then it would also allow Iran to completely acquire its nuclear arsenal. You give a nuclear arsenal to Iran, but you say, oh, but Erika, Iran just got a new president. Well, guess what? That new president is not as moderate as you think. It just doesn't work that way in Iranian politics. So this is the master plan. So what is shocking to me is how politicians don't get it. Now, Jordan Bardella, the darling of the French right, we thought that he was going to be becoming France's new prime minister because we thought the French right was going to get in, but it didn't. The left got in. But what happened is he stated, and he boldly stated, that he was not for a two-state solution because the second state would be a terrorist state. He gets it. What's mind-boggling to me is how do politicians who are our public servants here in the United States and in Europe, how do they not get it? What part do they not get? What part? Out of the Israeli news channels, they've been screaming the truth. It's essentially oppressed. It's pushed down because their channels don't do as well. I don't know why. I don't know if there's some kind of a reason that the channels don't do well. Maybe it's the word Jewish. I've said that on my channel. Certain words might get tagged. But it is kind of interesting when you look at YouTube that all of your major Jewish news channels are all lower in number than their other counterparts, than other news channels. And that begins to look questionable. And you wonder what's going on within YouTube's algorithm that the Jewish channels, which have been screaming this information of what is happening on the ground in Israel, what the aims are, what the real numbers are, it's not getting out there. And then if it does get out there, it seems to get out there to a select audience of either other Jews, maybe some evangelicals, and the population isn't getting it. But what's really scary is there's so much disinformation because there's a master plan and there's tons of money and it's going out into the media. So you're getting cockamamie numbers coming out of Gaza, 35,000. Oh, yeah, women and children, all women and children, all women and children. That doesn't even make sense in an Islamic society where a man is present with his wife and children. A man, part of that. How could you have this disproportionate number of women and children in a society that beyond looks down on a single mother? How can you even have that? Those numbers aren't even realistic given the culture of the society and given the facts. But again, the real facts not getting out there. So you have to wonder about the politicians that represent us. Because I'm going to tell you something. If a two-state were to occur, Israel, which is a very important democracy, very important to the Western nations, will potentially be no more. And when Israel is no more, it's going to be a new paradigm. It's going to be Iran and Qatar, but especially Iran, with nuclear weapons, power over the gas fields, and it's literally out of one of these villains movies of the bad guy masterminding. Is it about religion? I don't think so. It's about money and power. Money and power. That's right. Controlling the gas fields. Then they can have power and institute their brands of religion or their ideas. But it's really about money and power and control. And Bobo agrees. So this is a real concern. Who is informing the politicians? Who is informing the politicians on two-state policy? Give me a break. Are they listening to what's really going on and what's being said on these college campuses? Are they really listening to this? Are they paying attention? None of it even makes sense. None of it makes sense. It can't be more clear that a Palestinian state will be an Iranian proxy. And there goes the one democratic nation within the Middle East. Forget the fact that Israel is in trade pacts and offers so much more to the nations. Forget that balance that'll be upset. Let's just look at the fact that overnight you will have a geopolitical tectonic shift of epic proportions when Iran and Qatar win their villainous master plan and succeed at a two-state solution because the world's diplomats are a bunch of idiots who are ill-informed or giving way to whoever gives them money or whatever it is. And who's going to pay the price? Who always pays the price? But the citizens of the world. That's who's going to pay the price. And who knows what will be unleashed geopolitically and geoeconomically if Iran were to take Israel through a proxy Palestinian state. And then you get into the whole Palestinian state, and a lot of it doesn't even make sense, but they have very good master plan. They have a master plan, and their master plan is putting out an awful lot of disinformation, and they're buying votes at the International Court of Justice. That's right. They're paying nations to vote against Israel. This is really a lot of money is going into this. Do you see the facts I told you on that gas field? This is a major industry. It's worth lots of money. So it's worth the money to pump into the media, and it's worth the money to pay nations to achieve the aim of the master plan. And then, who knows what will result from that. So, if you happen to listen to this broadcast, you need to inform your politician and you need to let them know that what I'm revealing to you is obvious. Just look at the facts. Look at the places they've infiltrated, college campuses, UN, UNRWA. Look at how they get to the politicians, the media. Connect the dots. This is like something a third grader could figure out. You start to connect the dots and you see master plan. This is obvious. This is like, it doesn't take a high IQ to figure this one out. You have to wonder, though, at the world's campuses, where's the intelligence? Where's the knowledge that they would even be advocating the protests? And then the whole anti-Jewish thing. And it's now fashionable to hate a Jew and all this other crazy stuff as a result of it. All because they want power and they want to eliminate that democracy. So let's attack every which way that we can, create narratives, get it out there. And now again, it's fashionable. I was absolutely shocked when I learned that even publishing houses are not wanting to publish Jewish authors. Give me a break. They did the same thing with Russia. It was fashionable to hate a Russian. Now it's fashionable to hate a Jew. This is insanity on the world stage. It's insanity right now in our culture. And as I said, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that there's a master plan and what the aim of that plan is. Because there's a lot of money going into this. And you start to connect the dots and you're like, bingo. And for more, again, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned till next time.
Go down.